King Anderson. Anderson Crispin, who many of you have met, come here, sir, if you would. Anderson runs an excellent self-publishing company called Zest Publishing. And for those of you that don't know, self-publishing is a very new, relatively new, the last year or two, idea where a lot of individual authors choose to publish with very nuanced and specialist, almost boutique publishing houses, where there are creative individuals like Anderson who really decide to work with authors, particularly new authors, and help them on the journey through the publishing process, how you do it, what you need to do, what you need to look for, how you get the right reviews. And Anderson has been a tremendous self-publisher for Georgia and a real mentor for Georgia during this process, and it's been a really successful one, actually. So, as every good author should say, if the publisher makes any errors that you see in the book, it's the author's responsibility, never the publisher's. And I'll say that on your behalf, Squire, how's that? Believe me, I said that a few times. And most importantly, I think what Anderson has given Georgia is an opportunity to just have the confidence to put these poems together in a great collection. You do know who your friends are, though, because I was looking on Amazon a couple of days ago, amazon.co.uk, and we're delighted to see that the book is up there for sale, and there are also one or two used copies. It's amazing when the book was actually published sort of today. You know who your friends are in Norwich, George. I said, I'll take that, and it's ended up on Amazon for £2.90. Oh, sorry, no. Whatever price you paid, I'm sure was perfect. So enough from me, but thanks to all of you from both Dana and I that you've come in for a lovely evening. It's wonderful to see everybody, and it's a great privilege to have you all here to help us and join us in celebrating George's birthday. And before we hear from the young lady herself, who's going to read a couple of poems, hopefully the clean ones, she assures me that they are appropriate for the audience. I don't know what that means. But before we hear from George, a word, as always, from your publisher. What
a great turnout. It's great. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. Thank you all for coming. Doesn't Georgia look amazing?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Well done, Georgia. As a Brazilian, I thought I would put this down. Otherwise, we're going to be here a whole evening. So I've got my little thing here just to keep me on track. Okay, so I even written down here. Good evening, everyone. So thank you, Simon, for that introduction. So it saves me to say I'm Anderson, you know, but it's great. So this is Homecoming, a poetry collection by our very own Georgia Lynn Allen. And this is the time when you go, yay! I'm really excited. I'm very excited, and to introduce Homecoming to you and this new collection of poems. I've got the book right here, and hasn't Georgia done a great job?
Yes.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah. It's an amazing work, and we thank you, Georgia, for bringing this book to life. So many people, they've got an idea, they've got a story, but they never put it down. And I've read once that the most creative place on planet Earth is actually the cemetery, because people will die and a lot of their creativity is buried with them. So thank you for bringing this work to life, Georgia. I thank God for people like Georgia, because they possess, and this is when I start reading here, because I don't want to kind of go again off track, but they possess great power of imagination and expression, as you can see in Homecoming here. I think a poet has the ability to put words to my feelings, and because I too can look back and see that I have measured out my life with coffee spoons, as you would know. That's J. Alfred Prufrock. This is one of my favorite poems, by the way. Now, seeing that tonight is a poetry book launch. It would be a crime not to have Georgia reading 2 or 3 of her poems.
Yeah.
I think you all agree with that.
Yes.
So I will now hand over to Georgia and the author of Homecoming. So I was thinking that perhaps Georgia would pick 2, 3 of poems.
Yeah.
And but the other thing I was thinking, it would be great to have maybe just a little background, if you please, just any, and just pick one of them, and if you could give that, to us,
Okay.
that would be fantastic.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Sit on the stool.
Can everyone, those of you out there, if you want to try and move in, by all means, there's plenty of room. Nick, you want to come in? Yeah.
There's plenty of room to sit on the
Yeah,
floor
there's
and.
plenty of room to sit down.
Because I'm doing a story.
Alex, have a seat,
Thank you.
Those are my vocals. Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you all for coming. This means so much to me. This has been quite a scary thing for me to do, really. I mean, I've been writing poetry for a long time, but Mum was the one that said, you gotta get it down. You gotta have people look at it, and it's odd, but it's liberating in a way. I would recommend anyone to write poetry on a frequent basis because it's very cathartic. But having other people read it it's a different story. But I think this has been excellent to do. So, some poems.
Yeah.
I think I'll start with the first one in the collection, and that's the one that I thought I wrote this a while ago, and it's one of my favourite ones in it, and it's the first one. So okay, I haven't done my vocal warm-ups. Okay. Okay. It's called B. Oh. Okay. His method? Madness. His protection is fear. And even whilst he's saving all the world, he'll shed no single selfish tear. Yet, under fat philanthropy, a blatant flaw, it must be said. Whilst trying to destroy his prey, he goes and kills himself instead. This star-crossed, brazen, buzzing boy, doomed by the nature he hopes we'll enjoy. So that's one of my favourites. And I thought we can't not have the title poem, so this one is called Homecoming. This one is also it was one of the ones that I thought, this is kind of what I want to write about, just, people, circumstances, so let's see if you like it. Homecoming. No one is comfortable when you're here. You awkwardly live in fear of what it is you seek. You say you've hit your peak, and I don't want to believe you, but you're convincing me, and them too. It's art that's coursing through your blood, but till you bleed, it's not enough. I'm sure it must be tough to see the galaxies through the ozone, to see movement through a broken bone, to hear melody when you're deaf to tone. I can't help but to think your heart is out on loan to the demons that surround your eyes and feed you lies, and the devil's keeping watch in a very friendly disguise. They're there on the shelf, or hanging from the study wall, reminders of a time when you were told that you could have it all. Then you scratched enough together to afford a can of beer, one of the many reasons that you washed up over here, on this side of the status quo, a place with no place else to go, where the water's of a murkier shade, an example of a price a bit more painful to be paid.
Very good.
I think it's important to write about, not just abstract nouns like love and fate and stuff. You've got to write about things and people that matter.
Yeah, buddy.
I had trouble thinking of a third one to read because, some of them are not quite PG. So I think I'll read one that I was inspired to write by my, by my family in Arkansas, because there was this amazing day when we went to this old deserted house. Oh, thank you. This old deserted house in like the backwoods where their farm is, and they told this incredible story of a man there called John Rhodes, who had a very extraordinary life. Okay, this is kind of like a sing-songy one, but it's got a nice little beat. It's called The Ballad of John Rhodes. There were bees in his brain and lead in his feet. His beard hung low and was white as a sheet, and he hunched with the weight of troubles way more than his share. He lived in the woods in Black Rock, Arkansas, and at 4, his ma was shot down by the law for taking the side of a small, hungry coloured boy. John lived with his pa, and he was much maligned. Folks said he was a heathen and stone cold blind, so they murdered his daddy on the porch where he was brought up. Now, imagine poor John coming home with the kill. He sets his sights on over the hill, and there sits his father, tied down with a hole in his head. Well, that'd be enough for your average man, but John Rhodes knew that if he ran, his own sweet pa would have died for nothing more than fear. So John stayed put, and when he went to bed, the town all gathered and they saw red, so they marched to the house and shot down our man's old dogs. He wept for his life, and his pa and his hounds. They say each tear he'd shoot 20 rounds, and with every blast his heart grew twice as hard. He was bit by a snake when he was 74. The good Lord got up and finally closed his door, and now our John's up there with his pa, saying, "How many times did I tell you not to fall asleep on that porch?"
Yeah, top one.
That's only short. So. This one was
Yeah, I like that one.
inspired by a true story, which
Yes.
this is a great example of what I do on a day-to-day basis, and what I don't do, which is much. The title is "I then wake up to a Topshop delivery at around noon." When you're teleporting from the Isle of Wight to a North Korean army base by jumping off a cliff, through a magical rubber dinghy, and then being sucked into a Korean Game Boy that takes you to a pub where James Bond is trying to pimp you out to an old man who you subsequently beat to death with a cup right before going online to book a train ticket home in a panic because you forgot to feed your dog. You know you're watching too much daytime TV. Yeah, thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you're here.
Yeah, thank you. And Nick, the barman, who's doing a very good job, the bar is open and will be open for a very long while. And there is still food. Oh, Dana wants to say, oh, I'm so sorry.
What?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
How can I forget that?
Yes.
Before you run to see Nick the barman and eat more food. How can I forget this? Because, of course, the young lady was 21 7 days ago, we do have a cake. So we're about to, what a surprise. So we will get the cake on the go. So if you sort of loiter with intent, we'll be right back.
Can you read one more, sis?
Talk around. We'll be right back.
Is there another one?
I'll read all of them. Yeah,
No.
read all of them.
Do we have any questions for the author, darlings?
I will take questions now.
What?
Georgia, Wednesday
Does anybody have any questions? Seriously? Oh, Penny has a question for you.
No, it's good. It's good.
Guys, come on. Penny has a question.
I'm just really curious
Yes.
as to when you actually started to write
Well-
something and why. What made you do that? I know you, interned something that you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked writing from when I was really young, but I didn't really kind of take it seriously until I was in university really. So